The explosion happened over burnt garlic bread. 1 minute, we were all passing around a bowl of spaghetti, the salty beach air drifting through the screen door. The next, my aunt by marriage, Beth, slammed her fork down on her plate. The clatter echoed in the sudden, dead silence. Every single person at the long, pine table froze. My cousin Chloe, who was mid-slurp, had a strand of pasta hanging from her lip. Beth's eyes, laser-focused and burning, were locked on me. "I want to know," she said, her voice dangerously low and tight, "what, exactly, you said to my son today." My own fork paused halfway to my mouth. I could feel my own aunt, her sister-in-law, Carla, stiffen beside me. I'm sorry?" I stammered. "Don't play dumb with me," she snapped, her voice rising. "Aiden came to me. After your little chat. On the beach. He was asking me things. Disgusting things. Things a boy his age has no business knowing." Her voice cracked on the last word. "You filled his head with adult filth. You have no right. No right at all." My face felt hot. My stomach twisted. 10 pairs of eyes were on me, and I was being publicly tried for a crime I didn't even understand I'd committed. All I had done was answer a simple question. A biological question. Now, looking at her face, you'd think I had handed her 14-year-old son a lit stick of dynamite. To understand how a family vacation dinner imploded so spectacularly, you have to understand the weird, branching mess that is our family tree. My mom passed away when I was little, and my dad travels a lot for work. So, for most of my 16 years, I've been passed back and forth, but my primary home has always been with my Aunt Carla, my mom's sister. She, my Uncle Mark, and their 2 daughters are my real family. Clara is 17, a year older than me, and she's the calm, rational one. Chloe is 15, and she's a ball of dramatic energy and emotion. We're more like sisters than cousins. We share clothes, secrets, and an encyclopedic knowledge of each other's embarrassing childhood moments. We're a unit. Then there's Uncle Mark's side of the family. They're a lot. They're perfectly nice people, but there are dozens of them, and they have a different energy. More traditional, more small town, more loud. We see them at major holidays and the occasional big summer trip, like this one. We were all sharing a massive, slightly run-down beach house for a week. The cousin in question is Aiden. He's 14, and he's the son of Uncle Mark's sister, Beth. So he's my cousin's cousin, but not really mine. Aiden is a human golden retriever. He has this boundless, chaotic energy, and he's a bit clumsy and socially unaware, but his heart is in the right place. He just wants everyone to be having fun, all the time. His mom, Beth, is the opposite. She's wound incredibly tight. She homeschooled Aiden for a few years because, as she put it, the public middle school environment was too much for his sensitive nature. She monitors his screen time, his friendships, his diet. Everything. She views the world as a minefield of potential corrupting influences, and Clara, Chloe, and I are apparently a walking, talking trinity of corruption. The whole thing started, as so many family dramas do, with a locked bathroom door. It was our 3rd day there, around noon. The sun was high and hot, the ocean was calling, and everyone was buzzing with the frantic energy of trying to get out of the house. Sunscreen was being slathered on, towels were being snatched, and a half-dozen different people were shouting about where the cooler was. The only holdup was the main upstairs bathroom. And Chloe was in it. She'd been in there for a solid 20 minutes. I was standing outside the door, mostly because the lock on it is busted. It clicks shut, but if you jiggle the handle just right, it pops open. I was basically running defense, telling people it was occupied so she could have some privacy. Of course, the one person who wouldn't take a simple "it's busy" for an answer was Aiden. He came bounding up the stairs, a pool noodle in one hand. "Is Chloe ever coming out? The waves are perfect." "She'll be out when she's out, Aiden," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "But it's been forever," he whined, starting to bounce on the balls of his feet. He knocked on the door. Not a gentle tap. A full-on, rhythmic thumping. "Chloe. Let's go. Oh. The beach is waiting." From inside, Chloe's voice came out, strained and furious. "Go away, Aiden. I'm busy." "Doing what?" He yelled back, completely undeterred. "Things you don't have to worry about," she yelled. That should have been his cue. It wasn't. He jiggled the handle, and the broken lock gave way with a soft click. The door started to swing open. I threw my body against it instantly. "Whoa. Dude, no. What are you doing? She's taking too long." I heard Chloe let out a frustrated sob from inside. A real, gut-wrenching sound of someone at their limit. "I would like to see you try to do this." She screamed through the door. You have no idea. You don't get to rush me when you don't have a period. Silence. Aiden stopped jiggling the handle. He stepped back from the door. His face was a mask of pure, unadulterated confusion. What? He asked, looking at me. His brow was furrowed. A period? Like? At the end of a sentence? What does that have to do with the bathroom? I just stared at him. A 14-year-old boy. He'd been through middle school, even if it was at home. He had a mom and two 11-year-old twin sisters. And he had genuinely, absolutely no idea what a period was. The look on his face wasn't a joke. It was blank. My brain short-circuited for a second. This was not a conversation I had ever planned on having. This was a parenting conversation. Specifically, a Beth and Mark conversation. You know what, Aiden? I said, deciding on the path of least resistance. That's a great question. For your mom. Go ask your mom. His face lit up, his annoyance at Chloe forgotten and replaced with a new mission. Okay, he said, and then he was gone, thundering back down the stairs to find his mother. I leaned my head against the bathroom door. From inside, I heard Chloe sigh. Is he gone? She asked quietly. He's gone, I confirmed. He went to go ask his mom what a period is. There was a long pause, and then Chloe just said, oh boy. I thought that was the end of it. Truly. I assumed Beth would give him some G-rated, heavily sanitized explanation, and life would go on. I was very, very wrong. A few hours later, we were settled on the beach. Clara, Chloe, and I had our towels arranged in a little triangle. The sun felt amazing, the sound of the waves was a constant, soothing rush, and Chloe was finally feeling better. The whole bathroom ordeal was behind us. Until Aiden appeared, dripping wet and kicking up sand, a look of profound frustration on his face. He stood over us, blocking the sun. She wouldn't tell me. I squinted up at him, propping myself on my elbows. Who wouldn't tell you what? My mom, he said, sounding genuinely aggrieved. About the period thing. I asked her, just like you said. Clara sat up. What did she say? She got all weird, Aiden explained, gesturing with his hands. Her face got tight and she just said, that's private women's business, Aiden. It's rude to ask about, and you don't need to worry your head about it. And then she told me to go play. But Chloe was really upset. So it seems like something I should know about? If it makes people I know upset? My cousins and I exchanged a look. That's so ridiculous look. Chloe chimed in, it's not some dark magic, Aiden. It's just biology. So can you tell me? He asked, his gaze landing back on me. He looked so earnest. He wasn't being gross or trying to be funny. He was trying to understand something that had caused a tangible emotional reaction in someone he cared about. His mom's secrecy had only made him more curious. I hesitated. I looked at Clara. She just gave a little shrug, like, why not? My internal monologue was racing. On the one hand, his mom had drawn a clear boundary. On the other hand, it was an insane boundary. Keeping a 14-year-old boy in the dark about a basic, universal biological function seemed backwards. It was the secrecy that turned it into a big, scary, shameful thing. Knowledge wasn't the problem. Ignorance was. All right, I sighed. But this isn't, like, a gossip session. It's just science. I pulled out my phone, opened a browser, and typed in what is a menstrual period. I figured Planned Parenthood or some medical site would be less biased than me trying to explain it off the cuff. I found a simple, clear definition and read it to him. Out loud. Okay, it says. Menstruation is the normal shedding of blood and tissue from the lining of the uterus. It happens about once a month as part of a woman's reproductive cycle. I continued reading the clinical, boring details about hormones and cycles, keeping my voice as neutral and textbook-like as possible. Aiden just stood there, listening intently. He didn't cringe. He didn't make a joke. He just processed it. When I was done, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at Chloe, who was watching him warily. So, you're not sick? It just happens? Yeah, she said. It just happens. And it's not fun. He absorbed that. Then his eyes got a little wider. Wait. So, does my mom? Do my sisters? This was the critical moment. I jumped in before anyone else could. Maybe, Aiden. But here's the most important part of this entire lesson. You never, ever ask them. Ever. It's incredibly personal and private. It's their business, not yours. Got it? He nodded, looking serious. Got it. Private. Then he looked at Chloe again. Is there Is there anything I can do? Like, to help? Chloe was so taken aback by the question that she actually smiled. A real smile. Not really, she said. But. Thanks for asking. Oh. Okay. He seemed satisfied with the answer. The mystery was solved. And with that, he turned around and sprinted back toward the ocean, yelling something about body surfing. Clara turned to me. Well, that was surprisingly mature of him. See? I said, feeling vindicated. He wasn't grossed out. He was trying to be empathetic. His mom is making it into a monster, but it's not. We all agreed. Beth was being ridiculous. Aiden was a good kid who just needed information. We had done a good deed, arming him with knowledge and empathy. That feeling of righteous self-satisfaction lasted right up until dinner. The second Beth's accusation hit the air, "You filled his head with adult filth." My own aunt, Carla, immediately went into peacemaker mode. "Beth, let's all just take a breath," she said, her voice calm but firm. "No." Beth's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. She was on her feet now, pointing a trembling finger at me. "I don't know what kind of things you talk about in your house, Carla, but in my house, we protect our children's innocence. He's a boy. He doesn't need to know about that." My Uncle Mark, her husband, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "Beth, honey, let's talk about this later." "There's nothing to talk about later," she said, her voice catching. She turned back to me. "What you did was a profound violation. You went behind my back. You and your cousins. You always do this. You think you're so much better than us, with your city ways and your progressive ideas. You think you know what's best for my son." Now it wasn't just about the period talk. It was about everything. It was about the fact that we lived near a major city and they lived in a small town. The fact that Clara was planning to go to college out of state. The fact that I wore ripped jeans. All of it. I finally found my voice. "Aunt Beth, I am sorry if I upset you, but he asked me." He was confused, and you refused to explain it to him. "What was I supposed to do?" "You were supposed to respect me as his mother," she cried. "You were supposed to say, 'Aiden, this is not a topic for you,' and send him on his way. Instead, you gave him a lurid, graphic lecture on the beach. It wasn't lurid." Clara cut in, defending me. She read a definition from a medical website. It was science. "He came to me, Carla." Beth directed her fury at my aunt. "My son came to me and asked if I was bleeding. Because of her. How am I supposed to answer that?" He was horrified. That part hit me. Horrified? He hadn't seemed horrified. He had seemed empathetic. Had I read it all wrong? The dinner was ruined. Beth grabbed her husband's arm, pulled him up from the table, and they disappeared into their room, leaving a crater of silence behind them. The two little twin girls just looked at each other, confused. The rest of the evening was a tense mix of hushed conversations. My Aunt Carla came and talked to me. She said Beth had completely overreacted, that she was being absurdly overprotective. But, and this was a big but, she also said I should have considered my audience. I knew how Beth was. I knew she was a helicopter mom to the extreme. Maybe I should have just let it lie. Clara and Chloe, of course, were 100% on my side. They said Beth was living in the 1950s and that she was going to turn Aiden into a clueless adult who was weird about women. But what's really making me doubt myself is Aiden. Beth's whole argument hinges on the idea that he's this fragile, sensitive soul who was traumatized by this information. And while I didn't see any evidence of trauma on the beach, I can't get her words out of my head. He is more immature than most 14-year-olds. He's hyperactive, and his reactions can be unpredictable. Maybe his mind doesn't work like other kids his age. Maybe his mother, for all her frustrating flaws, knows something about his emotional limits that I don't. I thought I was fighting back against shame and secrecy. I thought I was teaching a boy to be understanding and respectful. I thought his final question, "Is there anything I can do to help?" was proof that I had done the right thing. It felt like a win for basic human decency. But when his own mother looks at me like I've scarred her son for life, I have to wonder if I was just a naive teenager bulldozing through a family dynamic I didn't fully understand. Was my principled stand on knowledge's power just a convenient excuse to ignore a mother's explicit wishes? She thinks I poisoned his mind. I think I gave him a dose of reality. And now, our family vacation is a cold war played out over who gets the last of the coffee in the morning. So, Reddit, am I the asshole?